Hello and welcome back to Kim Reads, and we're going to read The Bearenstain Bears Lend a Helping Hand. Some cubs are helpful, some cubs are not. Show them the way and they may take a shot. Mama and Papa Bear were like most parents. They wanted the best for their cubs. Brother and sister were like most cubs. They wanted the best for themselves, and not only the best, but the biggest and most as well. The best place in front of the TV, the biggest piece of cake, and the most jelly beans. One night, when the squabbling cubs were sound asleep, Mama lay awake worrying. She sighed a big sigh. Was that a sigh? Asked Papa, turning over, or just wind whistling through the leaves of our house? And we've got to find a way of teaching brother and sister to mend their selfish ways. She said, "Do you have any suggestion?" But this was Papa's only suggestion. He had fallen asleep, leaving Mama alone with her thoughts. I've got to find a way, thought Mama, to teach them that it's just important to help others as it is to help themselves. But how? Lecturing hasn't worked, nagging hasn't worked, and having Papa talk to them seems to do more harm than good. As Mama lay there, she thought about how cubs learn. Cubs learn by doing. They learn to walk by walking. They learn to climb. They learn to run by running. They learn to climb by climbing. That's the answer, thought Mama. The cubs will learn to help others by helping others. But the question of who, when, and where went unanswered as she drifted off to sleep. As it happened, these questions would soon be answered. The who turned out to be Miz McGrizz, the elderly widow who lived just down the road. The when turned out to be the very next day. And the where turned out to be at the checkout line at the supermarket. "Hello, Miz McGrizz," said Mama as she emptied her cart to the checkout counter. "Hello yourself," said Miz McGrizz. How are you?" "Just fine," said Mom. "Some of mine are over there looking at videos. Cubs, say hello to our neighbor." "Hi, Miz McGrizz," said brother and sister. The cubs were a little nervous about Miz McGrizz. She was really old, even older than Gramps and Gran, and kind of bent over. And then there was that crookedy cane she used when she walked. But the real reason they were nervous about her was that their ball had gone to her yard and knocked over some tulips, and they had never apologized. When Mama and Cubs were loading their groceries in their car, Miz McGrizz came out of the supermarket, pushing her collapsible little shopping cart. "Where are you going?" asked Mama. "To the bus stop," she said. "The bus goes right by my house." "So does our car," said Mama. Cubs helped Miz McGrizz into the car and put her things in the trunk. "That's very kind," said Miz McGrizz as sister helped her into the car. "My goodness," she added as brother put her things in the trunk. "It must be wonderful to have such helpful cubs." "Yes, it is," said Mama. She started the car most of the time. "It certainly would be wonderful for me," said Miz McGrizz. "Oh?" said Mama. When the cubs realized they were being talked about, they leaned forward to hear better. "Yes," said Miz McGrizz. "I need a little help with something." By now, brother and sister were leaning so far that the seats were pulling them. Thought Mama, maybe this chance I've been looking for. The chance for brother and sister to learn to help others. "I wonder," said Miz McGrizz, and this is just a thought, but perhaps if brother and sister could find time to help me clean up my attic. It's an awful mess. I pay them, of course. Brother and sister looked at each other. They didn't say anything, but their expressions spoke volumes. Help Miz McGrizz clean her attic? What about soccer? What about listening to music with Lizzie? What about playing video games with Cousin Fred? "Well, I think for one thing, I think that's a wonderful idea," said Mama. "Cubs, how does next Saturday sound?" She pulled the car close to Miz McGrizz's house. "Next Saturday," said the cubs. Then it's a deal," said Mama. "Hop to it, cubs. Let's help Miz McGrizz get her things in the house." As the cubs helped, they saw Next Saturday, slipping away in the dusty haze of a miserable, boring old attic. When they were about to get home, Mama turned to Miz McGrizz. As for her paying brother and sister, she said they wouldn't think of accepting money for being nice to a neighbor. When the Cubs complained to Papa about Miz McGrizz's attic, it turns out he was even more enthusiastic about the idea than Mama was. Cubs, I'm proud of you. I think it's a grand idea to volunteer to help poor old Miz McGrizz clean her attic. But Papa, we didn't exactly volunteer, said Brother in a small voice. Nevertheless, said Papa, it's a wonderful thing you're doing. I think you may find it interesting. You never know what you'll find in an old lady's attic. Careful now, said Miz McGrizz. Careful now, said Miz McGrizz. These steps are rather rickety. It was Saturday morning, and the Cubs were following up the attic. When they reached the top of the steps, brother and sister just stared for a moment. Here we are, said Miz McGrizz. They were indeed. A strange feeling came over the Cubs as they looked at the pile of old things. It was as if they had walked into the middle of her whole life. The dressmaker's dummy with half a dress pinned to it. They were old magazines. There was Amazing Ship in the bottle. Wow, said Brother. It has all the rigging. That was my late husband's hobby, explained Miz McGrizz. What's this? Asked Sister. A radio, of course, Miz McGrizz said. A radio, said Sister. It looks like a little cathedral. You think it still blazes? Said Brother. Let's plug it in and find out, said Miz McGrizz. Brother plugged it in and turned it on. Music came out pouring over the strange radio. Rock music, as the Cubs stood listening to a rock music coming out of a radio that looked like a cathedral. They had the funniest feeling about how time it works. It went back and forth into the past and then forward in the future, but now it was the present, and they had work to do. Papa was right. Miz McGrizz's attic was kind of interesting. Miz McGrizz organized two really big boxes. One was marked throwaways and one was marked keepers. You know, said Brother, we're going to have a system where we're going to get the job done. Miz McGrizz agreed. Here's what they did. They sat Miz McGrizz in a comfy old chair and brought things for her to decide about. Then she looked at each thing and said, keep it or chuck it. But as the morning went on, the Cubs began to worry. Seeing Brother and Sister that she was checking some pretty interesting things, they were beginning to get an idea. It was just before lunch when the Cubs found some really interesting things. What's this, Miz McGrizz? Said Sister. It looks like a really old Barbie doll. A really, really, really old Barbie doll. That's what it is, she said. It's the original Barbie I had when I was a Cub. Then Brother found something in a box of old papers. It was a baseball card. I can't hardly believe my eyes, he said. This looks like a Babe Bruin rookie card. That's probably what it is, said Miz McGrizz. My late husband was a big Babe Bruin fan. After lunch, the Cubs told her their idea. There's a lot of great stuff in here, said Brother. You shouldn't throw it away. What should I do with it, she asked. Have a garage sale, said Sister. Goodness, said old Miz McGrizz. I don't know about that. I don't have a garage. You have a yard, don't you, said Brother. You can have a yard sale. That's what happened. Mom and Papa pitched in and helped. Very next Saturday, Miz McGrizz had one of the most successful yard sales she had in the neighborhood. Miz McGrizz appreciated the Cubs very much and wanted to play in something, but Miz McGrizz wouldn't hear of it. She did allow them to set gifts, however. Miz McGrizz gave Sister the original Barbie doll that she had when she was a Cub, and she gave Brother the Babe Bruin rookie card. Wow, said Sister. Double wow, said Brother. And that's the end of that story. Thanks for listening.